My name is Lily, and I'm 33 years old. I've spent the last 15 years of my life being more than a sister. I was a mother, a father, a safety net, and a bank account all rolled into one exhausted body that somehow kept going because that's what you do when you're the only one left standing. Our parents died when I was 18 and my brother Mason was 11. Car accident. Black ice on Route 9. Gone in an instant, leaving behind a mortgage, medical bills that towered like skyscrapers, and two kids who didn't know how to be alone in the world. I was supposed to start college that fall. NYU. Full scholarship for graphic design. I'd already picked out my dorm room online, already imagined myself walking through Washington Square Park with a coffee in hand and a portfolio under my arm. But the day after the funeral, I was sitting in a social worker's office being told that if I didn't become Mason's legal guardian, he'd go into the system. So I stayed. I took a job at a print shop making $11 an hour. I worked doubles, triples when I could get them. I learned to stretch a dollar until it screamed. I learned to smile at Mason when he came home from school, even when I'd been crying in the bathroom 10 minutes earlier because the electricity bill was overdue and I didn't know how we'd eat that week. Mason didn't make it easy. How could he? He was a kid who'd lost everything. He acted out, failed classes, got suspended twice for fighting. I sat through parent-teacher conferences alone, nodding while teachers told me my son needed therapy. We couldn't afford structure I was too exhausted to provide, a male role model I couldn't summon out of thin air. But we survived. By the time Mason was 16, something shifted. He started caring about school, started talking about college, started dreaming about becoming an architect. I watched him sketch buildings in the margins of his homework and I thought, this is it. This is what it was all for. I worked even harder. I took on freelance design work at night, taught myself coding through free online courses, clawed my way up from print shop employee to junior designer at a small marketing firm. The money got better. Not great, but better. When Mason got accepted to Arizona State, I cried for an hour in my car before I went inside to congratulate him. Not sad tears, proud ones, relieved ones. The kind of tears that come when you realize you didn't fail the one person who mattered most. I paid for everything. Tuition, room and board, books, spending money. I told him not to work, to focus on his studies. I told him I had it covered. And I did, even when covering it meant I was eating ramen for dinner 4 nights a week and hadn't bought myself new clothes in 2 years. He graduated with honors, got a good job at an architecture firm in Phoenix. I helped him with the deposit on his first apartment. Then, 3 years later, when he said he wanted to buy a condo, I didn't hesitate. How much do you need? I asked. Lily, I can't ask you, you're not asking. I'm offering. How much? The down payment was $42,000. I had 38 saved. I took out a small loan for the rest and put the condo in my name because his credit wasn't established enough yet. We agreed he'd pay me back slowly, whenever he could. No pressure, no timeline. You've done so much for me already, he said over FaceTime the day we closed. I'm going to pay you back every cent, Lil. I promise. I know you will, I said, even though I didn't care if he ever did. Seeing him happy was payment enough. That was 2 years ago. 6 months after he moved into the condo, he met Simone. I should have seen it coming. Not her specifically, just the way things were already changing. Mason's calls became less frequent. Our weekly FaceTimes dropped to every other week, then monthly, then whenever I could catch him. He was busy, new relationship, demanding job. I understood. I told myself it was healthy, that he was building his own life, that this was what I'd worked for. But there was something about Simone that made my stomach tight from the first time I met her. It was Thanksgiving, 18 months ago. Mason brought her home to Seattle, the apartment I still lived in, the one we'd shared when he was in high school, the one I'd never left because moving felt like erasing the last piece of our life together. Simone was beautiful in that deliberate way some women are. 26 years old, long dark hair, perfect makeup, clothes that cost more than my rent. She worked in marketing for a tech startup. She talked about brand strategy and growth metrics and synergy. She looked around my apartment like she was touring a museum of poverty. This is where Mason grew up, she asked, her voice honeyed with something that might have been pity or might have been contempt for part of it. Yeah, I said, after our parents died. Oh, right. He mentioned that. She said it the way you'd mention someone's old haircut, a mildly interesting fact with no emotional weight. Mason didn't notice, or he pretended not to. He was so eager for us to like each other, so hopeful that his two worlds would blend seamlessly. He kept looking between us with this puppyish optimism that made my chest ache. Over dinner, Simone asked what I did for work. I'm a senior designer at a creative agency, I said. I focus on branding and digital campaigns. Oh, how nice, she said in a tone that meant cute hobby. Do you enjoy it? I wanted to tell her that I'd fought for that job, that I'd built my skills from nothing while raising a child that wasn't mine, that I'd sacrificed everything I ever wanted so Mason could become the man sitting beside her. But I just smiled and said, I do. She turned to Mason. We should hire Lily's agency for the startup. Give her some real experience with a serious client. My face burned. Mason laughed uncomfortably. Simone, Lily's agency is great. They've won awards. I'm sure they have. Her smile was sharp. I'm just saying it might be good exposure. I excused myself to the kitchen. I stood at the sink gripping the counter until my knuckles went white, breathing slowly, reminding myself that Mason was happy, that his happiness was all that mattered. But I knew, even then, I knew she was going to be a problem. Over the next year, things deteriorated in slow motion. Mason stopped calling on my birthday, forgot Christmas. When I asked if he was coming home for the holidays, he said, Simone's family does this big thing in Scottsdale. It would be weird if I didn't go, right? I said, of course. Maybe next year. Next year never came. The engagement happened via text message. A photo of Simone's hand, ring glittering obscenely. She said yes, with 6 exclamation points. I called immediately. Mason! Oh my God! Congratulations! Thanks, Lil. His voice was distant, distracted. Listen, I'm at dinner with her parents right now. Can I call you back? Of course. I love you. Love you too. He didn't call back. The wedding planning began without me. I heard about it in fragments, Mason mentioning vendors, dates, venues in passing during our increasingly rare phone calls. I waited for him to ask me to be involved, to help, to be his best man or person, or whatever the equivalent was for a sister who'd raised him. The ask never came. Finally, 3 months before the wedding, I brought it up. So, when's the wedding? Do you need help with anything? We've got it pretty much handled. Simone's really organized. I'm sure she is, but I'd love to help. You know, if you need anything. Yeah, for sure. I'll let you know. Another month passed. Then another. I bought a dress, booked a flight to Phoenix, requested time off work. I was going to be there for my brother's wedding even if I had to plan the whole thing myself. 2 weeks before the ceremony, I still hadn't received an invitation. I texted Mason, hey, haven't gotten the invitation yet. What's the venue address? Want to make sure I have everything I need. 3 hours later. About that. Can we talk? My stomach dropped. We FaceTimed that night. Mason looked tired, guilty, like a dog who'd chewed up something expensive. What's going on? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. So here's the thing. He wouldn't look at me. The wedding is going to be really small, intimate. Simone wants to keep it to immediate family only. I am immediate family. I know, but her parents are paying for most of it, and they have this whole list of relatives they have to invite, and space is really limited. And Mason, my voice cracked. Are you telling me I'm not invited to your wedding? It's not like that, then what is it like? He was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. Simone doesn't think you should be there. The world tilted. What? She thinks. She feels like you might make things uncomfortable, like you might try to make it about you, or about all the stuff you did for me. And she wants the day to be about us. When have I ever made anything about me? My voice was rising now, shaking. When have I ever asked you for anything? You haven't. I know that. But Simone says. I don't care what Simone says. I was yelling now, tears streaming down my face. I raised you. I gave up everything for you. I worked myself to the bone so you could have a life, and you're telling me I can't come to your wedding because your fiancé thinks I am. What? Pathetic? Embarrassing? Lily, please, did you even fight for me? Did you tell her no? His silence was the answer. Mason, I love you. You're my whole world. You're the reason I'm still in Seattle. The reason I never went to New York. The reason I've never had a serious relationship because I was too busy making sure you had everything you needed. And you're choosing her over me? It's not about choosing, yes it is. I wiped my face with the back of my hand. It's exactly about choosing. And you chose. I'm sorry, he whispered. So am I. I hung up. For 3 days. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I called in sick to work and lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying 15 years of my life, looking for the moment I'd failed him so badly that he could do this to me. I couldn't find it. On the 4th day, something inside me crystallized. The grief turned to something else, something cold and clear. I opened my laptop and started making lists. The wedding was on a Saturday in April. I know because I saw the photos on Instagram. Simone had made sure to tag the location, the photographer, the venue, everyone and everything except me. There was Mason in his tuxedo, looking handsome and happy. There was Simone in a dress that probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. There were her parents, her siblings, her college roommate, her spin class instructor, for God's sake. An intimate gathering of 85 people. Just not me. I stared at those photos for exactly 10 minutes. Then I made a phone call. Hi, this is Lily Chen. I need to cancel a honeymoon package under the name Mason Chen. The resort manager sounded apologetic. I'm sorry to hear that. May I ask the reason for cancellation? Change of plans. Can I get a refund? The booking was made 8 weeks ago, so normally we have a no refund policy. But let me check. Keyboard clicking. Oh, I see this was booked using your credit card as the deposit holder. In that case, yes, we can process a full refund since it's your financial instrument. It'll take 5 to 7 business days. Perfect. Thank you. That honeymoon had been my wedding gift to them. 2 weeks in Bali, oceanfront villa, all inclusive. $12,000 I'd saved over the past year. I'd called the resort 3 months ago and booked it as a surprise, then told Mason about it in one of our last conversations before everything fell apart. You didn't have to do that, he'd said. I wanted to. You deserve it. The refund hit my account on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I made another call. Hi, this is Lily Chen. I'm calling about the condo at 4782 Desert Willow Drive. I'm the title holder and I'd like to discuss listing it for sale. The real estate agent was enthusiastic. Wonderful. That's a great property. The market's hot right now. When were you thinking of listing? Immediately. And I need to inform the current occupant, of course. Are they a tenant? My brother. He's been living there, but the property's in my name. I'll handle notifying him. I didn't handle notifying him. Not yet. Thursday. I went to the bank. I'd like to call in the personal loan I made to Mason Chen. I slid the paperwork across the desk, the promissory note he'd signed 2 years ago for the $42,000 down payment. I told him there was no timeline, no pressure. But there was a contract. There was always a contract. The loan officer reviewed the documents. This looks straightforward. Since it's a personal loan between family members and he's had over 2 years without payment, you're within your rights to demand full repayment. We'll send him formal notice. How long does he have? Typically 30 days, but it depends on the terms you specified here. Looks like you wrote repayment due upon request, so technically immediately. Good. Friday. I sent Mason an email. Not a call, I didn't want to hear his voice. Not a text, this needed to be official. Subject: property and financial matters. Mason. Effective immediately. I am exercising my right as title holder to sell the condo at 4782 Desert Willow Drive. The property will be listed next week. You have 30 days to vacate. Additionally, I am calling in the personal loan of $42,000 for the down payment. Per the promissory note you signed, full repayment is due immediately. If you cannot pay the full amount, we can arrange a payment plan at 6% interest. I have also canceled the honeymoon reservation in Bali and received a full refund. I wish you and Simone the best. Lily hit send before I could second guess myself. His response came 17 minutes later. Lily WHAD the fuck, are you serious right now? Just got back from the wedding, you are really doing this? I didn't respond. I didn't block him either. I wanted to see what came next. What came next was a phone call I didn't answer, followed by 6 more I didn't answer, followed by a voicemail I deleted without listening to, followed by a text from Simone. This is pathetic, even for you. You're ruining his life because you weren't invited to one event. Grow up. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud, alone in my apartment. The audacity was almost impressive. I texted back. The property is mine. The money was mine. The honeymoon was paid for with my money. I'm not ruining his life. I'm reclaiming mine. She called me 16 times in the next hour. I blocked her number. Mason showed up at my apartment on Sunday morning. I'd expected this. I'd prepared for it. I answered the door but didn't let him in. He looked terrible. Hadn't slept. Eyes red and wild. Lily, please. Can we talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. You're kicking me out of my home. It's my home. My name. My money. You've lived there rent-free for 2 years because you said I could. And now I'm saying you can't. I kept my voice level, emotionless. I'd practiced this. You made a choice, Mason. You chose to exclude me from the most important day of your life. You chose to let your wife call me pathetic and uncomfortable. You chose to stand by while she decided I wasn't good enough to be there. Those were your choices. These are mine. I'm your brother. You were my brother. But brothers don't do what you did. Family doesn't do what you did. His face crumpled. I'm sorry. God, Lily. I'm so sorry. I was weak. I should have fought for you. I should have told her no. I should have, you should have. But you didn't. And now it's too late. It's not too late. We can fix this. I'll talk to Simone. We'll have a family dinner. Just the 3 of us. And we'll work this out. I don't want to have dinner with Simone. I don't want to work this out. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You treated me like I was disposable. So I'm disposing of the life I built for you. What about the money? Lily, I don't have $42,000 just sitting around. That's going to bury us. Something vicious and satisfied uncurled in my chest. You'll figure it out. You're smart, resourceful. You'll find a way. Maybe Simone's parents can help. They paid for the wedding after all. They seem very generous with their money. Please. His voice broke. Please don't do this. I already did. I closed the door. I locked it. I walked to my bedroom, sat on my bed, and waited for the guilt to come. It didn't. Instead, I felt light. Lighter than I'd felt in 15 years. Like I'd been carrying a boulder on my back and someone had finally told me I could set it down. I spent that afternoon doing something I hadn't done since I was 18. I updated my portfolio. Really updated it. Not the half-hearted refresh I did every couple years when I was too tired to care. I looked at the work I'd done over the past 15 years, the campaigns, the brands, the designs that had won awards but never felt like mine because I'd been too exhausted to celebrate them. They were good. I was good. I'd forgotten that. Monday morning, I sent an email to a creative director I'd met at a conference 2 years ago. She'd worked for a prestigious agency in New York. She'd told me to look her up if I ever wanted to talk about opportunities. I'd never followed up because leaving Seattle meant leaving Mason, but Mason had already left me. Hi, Rebecca. We met at the AGA conference in 2023. You mentioned you were always looking for senior designers with strong branding experience. I know it's been a while, but I'm curious if that's still the case. I'm ready for a change. Best. Lily Chench responded in 3 hours. Lily, of course I remember you. Your work was incredible. We'd love to talk. Are you free for a call this week? We talked on Wednesday. She offered me a position on Friday. Senior art director. Salary that was double what I was making in Seattle. Relocation assistance. The kind of opportunity I'd dreamed about when I was 18 and thought the world was full of possibilities. When can you start? Rebecca asked. How's 3 weeks? Perfect. I gave my notice at work that afternoon. My boss was disappointed but not surprised. You've been checked out for a while, she said kindly. I hope whatever you're moving toward is what you need. It is, I said, for the first time in a long time. It really is. I told my landlord I wouldn't be renewing my lease. I started packing. I sorted through 15 years of stuff, Mason's old school projects, photos of us at his high school graduation, the paperwork from when I became his legal guardian. I kept a few photos. The rest went in the trash. It felt good. It felt necessary. Mason tried to contact me 47 times over the next 2 weeks. Calls, texts, emails, showing up at my apartment. I didn't respond to any of it. I was done explaining myself. Done justifying my choices. Done making myself smaller so he could feel comfortable. The only communication I accepted was through my real estate agent and my lawyer. The condo sold in 8 days. Hot market. Desirable location. Price to move. Mason and Simone had to be out in 3 weeks. I signed the papers remotely. The loan repayment was messier. Mason tried to negotiate, to ask for extensions, to plead poverty. My lawyer was unsympathetic. Your brother has a good job and assets. He can pay. He's choosing not to because he assumed you'd cave. I'm not caving. Good. We'll proceed with the payment plan. 6% interest over 5 years. Monthly payments of $817. Perfect. I left Seattle on a Tuesday in May. I didn't tell Mason I was leaving. I didn't tell anyone except my boss and my landlord and the few friends I'd managed to keep over the years despite working myself to death. One of them, Jasmine, helped me pack the U-Haul. You're really doing this, she said, taping up a box labeled kitchen. I really am. How do you feel? I thought about it. Free, terrified, but mostly free. Good, you deserve free. She hugged me hard. Don't lose touch, okay? I want to hear all about your glamorous New York life. I promise. I drove away from Seattle at 6 in the morning, watching the city disappear in my rearview mirror. I didn't cry. I'd done enough crying for Mason Chan. Instead, I turned up the music and rolled down the windows and felt the wind in my hair. And for the first time since I was 18 years old, I didn't know what came next, and it was beautiful. New York was overwhelming in the best way. My apartment was a showbox in Brooklyn, but it was mine. The agency was intimidating, but I was good enough to be there. The city felt alive in a way Seattle never had, like possibility lived in every subway car and street corner and late-night deli. I threw myself into work. I made friends. I went on dates that didn't go anywhere, but I went on them. I joined a running club. I took a ceramics class. I did all the things I'd been too tired and too broke and too responsible to do for 15 years. I thought about Mason sometimes, wondered how he was doing, if he'd figured out how to pay his bills without me, if he regretted what he'd done. But the thoughts were distant now, like remembering a dream. He was my past. This was my present. 3 months after I moved to New York, I got an email. Subject: Please read this, Lily. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. I know I don't deserve your time or attention. But I need to say this, even if you never respond. You were right about everything. Simone and I are separated. Not because of the money stuff, although that didn't help. Because I finally saw what you saw from the beginning, that she never valued me the way you did. That she loved what I could do for her, not who I was. The morning after our wedding, she made a joke about how glad she was you weren't there to bring down the vibe. I laughed. I actually laughed, Lily, because I was so desperate for her approval that I threw you under the bus one more time. But it kept happening. Every time I mentioned you, she had something cutting to say. Every time I tried to explain how much you'd done for me, she made it sound like you were